I found a new organism living deep under the ocean. It could end human life. The ocean is a frontier we barely understand. Its vast, uncharted depths remain as mysterious to us as the surface of another planet. For years, I've dedicated my life to marine biology, delving into those depths in search of answers, new species, ecosystems, or even cures for diseases. But nothing could have prepared me for what I found. This isn't a story about discovery and wonder. This is a warning. It began with an expedition funded by the Deep Sea Exploration Initiative, a private organization with deep pockets and even deeper secrets. The mission was straightforward: explore a newly discovered trench in the Pacific Ocean, deeper than the Mariana and thought to be untouched by life. They called it the Abyssal Rift. The rift had been detected via sonar scans, showing a sharp drop-off in the ocean floor that plunged nearly 12 kilometers deep. Scientists were baffled by its formation, as it didn't align with known tectonic activity. I was part of a small team of marine biologists, geologists, and deep-sea engineers tasked with investigating the rift. Our primary objective was to map the trench and collect samples, both geological and biological. But from the start, something felt wrong. We set out aboard the Orpheus, a state-of-the-art research vessel equipped with everything we needed for deep-sea exploration, including 2 submersibles, Abyssal 1 and Abyssal 2. The journey to the rift took 3 days. During that time, I couldn't shake the unease that had settled in my chest. The ocean felt different here, darker, heavier, as though we were trespassing in a place we didn't belong. When we arrived, the sonar scans revealed something unexpected. The rift wasn't just a crack in the ocean floor, it was a gaping void. The trench walls were nearly vertical, and the space between them stretched wider the deeper it went. It felt less like a trench and more like an open maw. The first dive was uneventful. We sent Abyssal 1 down with a pilot and a scientist aboard, while the rest of us monitored from the control room. The submersible descended without issue, its lights cutting through the darkness like a knife. At around 8,000 meters, they began to encounter life forms, strange, translucent creatures that pulsed with bioluminescence. Many were unlike anything we'd seen before, but they didn't seem threatening. Then, at 9,200 meters, the feed cut out. The submersible lost contact, and we were forced to abandon the dive. The second dive was mine. I boarded Abyssal 2 with Dr. Elliott, a geologist, while the rest of the team worked to locate the missing submersible. We descended slowly, our instruments scanning the water for any sign of Abyssal 1. At around 7,500 meters, we found it, or what was left of it. The submersible was embedded in the rift wall, its exterior covered in strange black growths. The glass viewport was shattered, and there was no sign of the crew. Dr. Elliott and I stared in silence as our lights illuminated the wreck. "What the hell is that?" Elliott whispered, pointing at the growths. They looked organic, like clusters of veins or tendrils, pulsing faintly with an inner light. Against my better judgment, we collected a sample. The robotic arm of the submersible extended, scraping a small piece of the growth into a sealed container. As soon as we took the sample, the tendrils retracted, curling inward like they were alive. That was the first time I felt it, the pressure. It wasn't physical, but something deeper, a weight pressing against my mind. I shook it off, blaming the stress of the dive, but the feeling lingered. Back on the Orpheus, the team was in a frenzy over the sample. Under the microscope, it defied explanation. The cells were unlike anything we'd seen before, self-replicating at an astonishing rate and seemingly impervious to damage. Even more bizarre, they reacted to stimuli as though they were sentient. When exposed to light, the cells emitted faint electrical signals, almost like a rudimentary nervous system. "This could be the discovery of the century," Dr. Elliott said, his voice trembling with excitement. But I wasn't so sure. Over the next 24 hours, strange things started happening. The sample began to grow, spreading across the petri dish despite being in a sealed container. It absorbed every substance we exposed it to, nutrients, chemicals, even radiation, and grew stronger with each interaction. Then, the containment breach happened. It started as a small tear in the sealed chamber. No one knows how it happened, but the organism escaped. At first, it seemed harmless, forming a thin black film on the lab equipment. But it wasn't long before it began to spread. Anything it touched was consumed: metal, plastic, even glass. The organism broke them down and incorporated them into its structure, growing larger and more complex. The first casualty was Dr. Patel. He had been monitoring the containment chamber when the breach occurred. The organism latched onto his hand, spreading across his skin faster than we could react. We tried to cut it off, but it was too late. The black tendrils consumed him entirely, leaving nothing but an empty lab coat. And then the organism moved. It wasn't mindless. It had a purpose. The black mass spread through the ship, seeking out power sources and machinery. It absorbed everything it touched, growing larger and more intricate with each passing hour. We tried to fight it, but nothing worked. Fire, chemicals, even high-voltage electricity, nothing could stop it. And all the while, the pressure in my mind grew stronger. By the third day, the Orpheus was unrecognizable. The organism had taken over the ship, its tendrils pulsing with a sickly light. The crew was either consumed or missing, and I was running out of places to hide. But the worst part wasn't the physical destruction. It was the whispers. The organism wasn't just alive, it was intelligent. It communicated through the pressure in my mind, whispering thoughts that weren't my own. It showed me images of its origin, deep beneath the ocean floor, and of the worlds it had consumed before reaching Earth. It wasn't a natural organism. It was a weapon, sent here eons ago by something far beyond our understanding. And now, it was awake. I don't know how I escaped. The last thing I remember is sealing myself in an escape pod and launching into the open ocean. When I came to, I was drifting, alone, with no sign of the Orpheus. The authorities didn't believe me. They said the Orpheus was lost in a freak storm, and the strange growths I described were a figment of my imagination, a result of stress and trauma. But I know the truth. The organism is still out there, deep beneath the ocean. It's waiting, and it's growing.